Good morning and welcome to the Rockford Area Case Management Initiative's Quarterly Community of Practice. My name is Billy Callahan. I am the Associate Director here at the Northern Illinois Center for Nonprofit Excellence, or more fondly called NICNE. So welcome. I'm happy to have you here this morning. Our quarterly communities of practice are focused on sharing information with case managers to help you learn about services available in the community to help you facilitate better referrals for your program participants. So it is my pleasure to introduce to you Karyn McDonald, who is the Elevate Youth Program Director at the Workforce Connection. Karyn, I will let you take on the panel this morning. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. Again, welcome to our panel discussion this morning on workforce development. As Billy mentioned, my name is Karyn, and I am the program manager for Elevate, which is a youth workforce development program here in Rockford. And we serve about 400 youth, anywhere from age 16 to 24, most of them in the Rockford area and then surrounding towns like Belvedere, Loves Park, Roscoe. And we serve them through a variety of different services. The first one is academic learning services. So that can be students who are currently in high school trying to get their high school diploma. We also serve students who are working on getting their GED. And then we also do what we call ITAs. It's basically post-secondary education certifications or trainings. And then we do work-based learning. And that can look like a paid internship or on-the-job training. Those opportunities are to help them get current work experience, to get references. A lot of the youth that we work with haven't really had a job before, or they've had a job that was only a couple of weeks. So it's a really great opportunity for them to meet people locally, to work, get some experience, and then get connected to what they're hoping to do initially after the program. What we're going to go ahead and do is introduce everyone, the panelists, and then we'll go into some current statistics in the workforce. So if we could have Nichol, if you could share your name, your title, and your affiliation.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nichol Fricks. I'm the Operations Director here at Northwest Community Center. Our agency has been around for 70 plus years, and our mission is to provide a place for individuals in this community, the Rockford community, to gather, learn, and to be social.
Great, thank you. Paul, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself.
Hey everyone, good morning. My name is Paul Nolley. I'm the Executive Director of Project First Rate. We are a nonprofit labor management organization, which basically means we represent union tradespeople in a 9-county region and also union contractors. And a lot of the work that I do day to day is helping people understand what apprenticeship programs are all about, all the careers in construction, kind of demystifying what that's all about, encouraging more people of color and women to get into these careers and all sorts of other stuff. So thanks again for this opportunity.
Perfect, thank you. Amanda?
Good morning. My name is Amanda Sink with the Workforce Connection. I'm the Strategic Initiatives Manager, and I also handle FOIA and equal opportunity requests. And you've heard a little bit about our programs already from Karyn, who is also with the Workforce Connection. We connect with individuals and employers to get the individuals connected to workforce development training and education, so that way we can meet the needs of employers. But on the other hand, we have a dual customer approach, and our employers, we offer services for them as well, and we'll talk a little bit about that today.
Perfect, thank you. All right, we're going to go ahead and look at some current workforce statistics. All right, perfect. So, Billy, if you could start on the local unemployment rate, is that the first one? Perfect. So this is going to look at our statistics from April of last year up into April of this year. And if you guys will see, the unemployment rate has dropped in the Rockford, Freeport, and Belvedere regions from April of last year. And as we know, there were still a lot of COVID restrictions in place. Maybe there were some businesses that weren't fully open again yet. And so we had a higher rate of unemployment this time last year. So it's really encouraging to see these rates dropping a year later, because we know, again, there's less restrictions now. Most of the businesses that had been closed are open now, and it's easier to find employment at this point. So that's kind of our local unemployment rates for now. Let's see here. For this part, this is going to kind of break down Boone and Winnebago County labor force participation. So again, you're going to be able to see for our area, the labor force went up about 1.4% from April of 2021 to April of 2022. Overall employment went up about 3.1%. And then unemployment again dropped almost 15%. And again, that's because we've got less restrictions in place now. It's easier to find employment and everybody's looking for work. Okay, next one. Employment by industry. You'll see the top industries that we typically see in our region, again, from April 2021 to April 2022. Manufacturing went up by 8.4%. Health services went up by 0.4%. Retail trade, all of the top labor markets saw an increase in employment. And I thought it was fascinating to see the leisure and hospitality that obviously had the biggest jump of 14%. And again, a lot of restaurants weren't working at capacity at this point last year. Maybe movie theaters, bowling alleys, those types of industries weren't quite open yet at that point. So that's why we see such a high jump in percentage from last year to this year. Educational attainment. So this is for those who are over the age of 25. So you'll see in Winnebago County, we've got about 193,000 over the age of 25. It'll show you the Boone County numbers and then the Stevenson County numbers. And what this shows is the amount from that number, those who have less than a 9th grade education level, those who've attended high school but did not graduate, those who have a high school or GED, those who've gotten some college but did not graduate with a degree, those who've gotten an associate's degree, and then those who've gotten a bachelor's degree or higher. So you can see all of those numbers for each of those counties. All right, job postings. So January through May of 2022, we saw 23,854 unique postings with the median advertised salary being $20.86. And it'll show you the breakdown here that those postings, we had 20,389 in Winnebago County, Boone County had 1,690, and then Stevenson County had 1,775.
Can I ask, where do they pull those postings from?
That is an excellent question. I have no idea. They were given to me. Amanda can answer this probably.
Those are reported to the Illinois Department of Employment Security. So they have a system that people can actually put there. If they're unemployed, they actually are required to put their job posts, or they're able to put their resume on there, and then also businesses will put their postings on there. And then it also grabs information from the internet, from Indeed, from different places like that. So it's kind of a combination economic development resource that pulls all that data in from other sources, as well as the direct reported ones.
That's great, thank you.
This was fascinating too. So out of the listings that we just talked about with the slide before, what it's going to do is it's going to talk to you and reveal what type of educational level they're looking for. So if we can see that about 26% are requiring at least a high school diploma and GED. So my program, we do a lot of high school diploma, GED, because again, we're working with youth. So really trying to get them just that foundational piece is really important. And this is a good representation of why that's important. And then we've got about 28% of the postings requiring at least a bachelor's degree or higher. And then the experience side was really fascinating. So 60% of those postings did not list a specific experience level required. And I know that in the last year, some positions where we just need able-bodied people that we can train. And so I think that was really fascinating to be able to see that, which really, provides encouragement too, that there's a lot of jobs out there and you don't necessarily have to have this, years worth of experience. The statistics are showing us that, again, 60% of those postings have no experience required listed in the postings. And then the top jobs posted in our region, registered nurses, CDL drivers. We've got a lot of retail on here, fast food and IT. at least for our program, again, with the youth side, we see a lot of nurses and CDLs. So this is really in line with the demand that we see from our participants. Most of the trainings that our participants want to go into are either in the health field or in the transportation field. So that really aligns again with the top postings and industries that we're seeing in our region. All right. So those again are just some current statistics. If you've got questions, you can put them in the chat. We'll have a Q&A portion at the end, and we'll have an opportunity to answer any of those questions that you may have. So now we're going to kind of move into the panel discussion portion. What I'm going to do is ask each panelist a question that they can answer regarding their own workplace and how they help the community. And you're welcome to answer or put any questions you have in the chat. All right, Amanda, why are your services critical to the community? And can you give us an update on your impact, the numbers that you serve, and any gaps that you may fill in the community?
So I would first start with why it's critical. The first place people are going to get to is trying to get that employment so they can pay their bills. So that way they can pay for their family to have food on the table and all of those things. If they don't have access, equitable access to employment opportunities, which for our region does start with either training or education, as you saw before, there's a lot of opportunities that we provide. So not only are we connected with the business community to make sure that those individuals have access to employment, but we're also there to help pay for education and training so that way they can get a good paying job and have economic prosperity going down the line and continue on their career pathway. So it's critical that we connect to both the career seekers and the employers to kind of align those two together. I'm so sorry, Karyn, what was your next question? The next part of it.
You could do numbers served and then how you fill gaps that are in the community.
So I would say for gaps in the community to start with, one of the things that I've been most impressed with Community Navigator into integrating it into our work. And that individual is actually there to help connect the dots between all of the other supportive services that the individual needs. So even though you may be getting a job or you're getting training and education to get that employment, you're going to have all of these other lingering issues and barriers that you have to have addressed, whether it's childcare, whether it's transportation. All of those things play a big factor in your success. And so this community navigator is going to help get them connected to everything that they need, as well as some of the more simple barriers that people experience are getting access to their birth certificate and those documents that can be kind of troublesome if you don't know how to access it or you have trouble accessing it. And this individual is there to help walk them through the process and make sure that they're connected to the resources of the entire community. So that way they have a huge piece of it. This actually started from a grant, and because the success of it, being able to serve so many individuals, it was 537 for the first year, I believe it was, that this individual was able to help serve. 548 individuals were served in half that time the next year. So this success of that program, of that individual, has really been great, and we're really proud of that. On an annual basis, the number of individuals and employers we serve varies because our money is funded through the federal government. And so how we're able to serve, how many we're able to serve is kind of based on that. I will say that we typically see thousands of individuals. We have over 33,000 visits from last year. So we do have a ton of people coming to us for various needs, and it's pretty significant. We reach at least 25% of the employers in our region that are small to mid-sized businesses. And so our role with them is to make sure that they have access to the services and resources, upskilling their current staff to create a talent pipeline. And it's pretty impactful when you think about the work as a whole.
Great, thank you. Paul, we'll go ahead and go with you next. Tell us about why your services are critical to the community, typical numbers that you serve, and the gaps that you fill in our community.
Sure. So we're a little bit different than probably the standard organization that case managers would be working with and interested in. But really, what I do as far as this, the realm that we're talking about now, and I really like what Amanda was talking about as a navigator. I never really used that before, but that's kind of more of my role as far as looking at really careers for people who are young people who are have kind of went into a dead-end job or dead-end field and are really looking for something that they can do for 20, 30 years and retire with dignity. And so what I basically do, we're not a direct service provider by any means. We're not a social service agency or anything like that, but really, to use that word again, I help people navigate, educate them, get them to understand and demystify and combat some of the stigma and bias that exists still in related to construction careers. And really, I focus on high school students and young people, but it's for everyone. And really what we do is we talk about what apprenticeship programs are and how you can really build a good life through these type of careers and really instill the importance of the values that our industry expects and offers as well. So as far as numbers, it's not something that we're able to calculate because again, it's kind of a case-by-case basis. People reach out, people use our resources. I don't get a ton of individual people who want assistance at that level, but when they do reach out, I'm more than happy to help. For one, get them to understand what the options are, two, kind of give them some advice, guidance, whatever. And then three, really I can formally connect them to an apprenticeship program or just someone that they can speak with any of the given trades. We have about 17 trades in our area, each with their respective programs. And so as far as, the gap that we're filling, it's really, there's still this huge, despite a lot of the talk, I'm sure many of you have heard in the last probably like 2-3 years, especially with a lot of the infrastructure money that's coming out at the state and federal level, there's the new emphasis on blue collar jobs, on apprenticeship programs, on alternatives to the 4-year degree. And so really what I'm doing is helping promote that and helping people change their perception of these alternative options to a 4-year university program. And there's not a lot of folks out there doing it for these specific opportunities. And so that's mainly my goal that's mainly the work that I do, is really just helping people understand that, connecting them, and answering questions, all that kind of good stuff. And I'm sure we'll get into that more.
Perfect. Thank you, Paul. Nichol, can you tell us why your services are critical to the community, your typical numbers that you may serve, and the gaps that you fill in the community?
Okay. Well, I believe that our services are critical because we provide programs and services for individuals to become successful and also to enhance the quality of their lives. We serve pretty much everyone in the family. So we have youth programs, adult programs, things for seniors. So we're serving the whole family. We're not just serving, one set of individuals. It's the entire family. Well, pre-COVID, we were serving 10,000 individuals plus a year. Since COVID, I don't have the exact numbers. I do know it's a little less, but now that we're back open, we're starting to serve more individuals again, now that, everything has opened back up. And I'm sorry, what was your last question?
The gaps that you fill in our community.
Well, since we're serving everyone in the family, we're covering it pretty much. We're covering it all since we're serving everyone in the family, again, from youth, adults, as well as seniors.
Great, thank you. All right, Amanda, if you could answer, who do you serve and what is the best way to access your services?
We serve just about anybody. Similar to what Nichol was saying, we want to make sure that everybody in the family has access to services. And one of the things that we've talked a lot about, and I think the Rockford region and the Northern Illinois region has really started to make an emphasis on, is that it has to be a comprehensive family approach. If you focus on just the child and the family, then the adult who is supposed to be able to be a support system who didn't have those resources, they aren't able to help support their child. And so you're kind of just in the same cycle and it just repeats. So if you're able to get the entire family, you're able to connect with the parents and the child and the grandparents and whoever else may be there and provide them with access to services, then you're going to make a bigger impact for the region as a whole. We do have some age eligibility requirements. So for youth, that program, you do have to be 16 years old. For the adult program, you have to be 18, but we do not limit on how old you get, because as we know, there's still a huge need for all that knowledge and experience from our older generations that have worked so long and had successful careers, and maybe they had a pivot, especially with the Stellantis layoffs. A lot of our seniored and tenured staff that are looking for different employment and having to pivot their career, that's kind of where we come in and help as well. But it's significant that we serve everybody as much as possible.
Perfect. Thank you. Paul, can you talk about who you serve and what the best way is to access your services?
Sure, yeah. So really anyone that's looking for a real career, I do work primarily with our local high schools, public and private. So as far as like going out in the community, talking about this, those are going to be the, the vast majority of the people that I'm talking with, speaking with, and having conversations. But really it's open to anyone. And sometimes people are kind of shocked to learn, I'm working with a guy right now who's like 52 or something, and he's worked in retail banking and, kind of these minimum wage jobs for the last 15, 20 years and is looking for something. And that's not unheard of for someone to start in our career in, middle age. And sometimes that maturity level is actually appreciated, especially if you have some transferable skills. So it's really for everyone, primarily young people, but again, it's anyone who's really serious about finding a career that they want to commit to. They want to make great money and retire with dignity. So kind of open to anyone. But it's one thing to be very clear about is the apprenticeship programs and these careers, there's high expectations, and so it's not something that just anyone can jump into at any kind of point in their life, any kind of stage in their career development or their path, right? It's something that they really need to figure out what that's going to look like, that they can dedicate themselves to something, much like if you're going into a four-year university program. If you're going in, you're paying the tuition, you're going to get accepted. If you're getting scholarships or whatever it is, you really want to be in that for the long run and achieve that goal at the end. And that's exactly how it is getting into an apprenticeship program. So it's really for people who are taking it serious, who have kind of figured out what they want to do and aren't just really, putting their feet in the water. So just, I really would say the most similar kind of concept or program would be a university program, and taking those steps and being really serious about it. As far as accessing us, it's really, we have a resource called Find Your Trade that I know NICNE will send out and probably show a link here as well. And that's what I always say is the best starting point for anyone. And that's basically a resource. And we have printed guides as well, which reflect the information that's on the website. But that's going to allow anyone, whether they're young, middle-aged, or older, to just look at all the options, all the 17 trades in our region, all the apprenticeship programs, the requirements, the expectations, all that kind of good stuff. And then what I encourage people when they reach out is say, hey, give me a call, shoot me an email, kind of figure out 2 or 3, 4 trades that you might be interested in. And then if you need a little bit more assistance, if you want to have a conversation, ask questions, call me, email me, whatever it may be, and I'll help answer the questions. I'll help guide you. I'll help facilitate those conversations, meetings, whatever it may be. So again, we're not like a placement recruitment service. We're more education, promotion, and that kind of thing. But I'm always open to helping people on that individual level, because I know the meaning of the significance of someone is able to get in this career. They're going to be financially independent. They're going to have a much different life than, probably the position they're coming from. So really just reaching out to me, the phone number, the email address that'll be provided. And then there's like a contact form on our Find Your Trade website that people can type in a message, and that goes directly to my email box as well. So I would encourage anyone to, use any of those outlets to reach out to us.
Perfect. Thank you, Paul. Nichol, who do you serve and what is the best way to access your services?
Well, we serve all ages, again, from the youth all the way up through seniors. And the best way to get in contact with us they can call the agency, they can send an email to our info email. They can also email me, or can even stop in person to talk to someone.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, Amanda, are there barriers to entry for your services? Who can you not serve, and what are those barriers?
Again, the only eligibility barrier that really would be significant is if you're under 16 years old. However, there are other eligibility requirements. If you're low income, if you are a single parent, different things like that, you do have to have proof of authorization to work in the United States. But the great thing about our programs is that if someone comes in and they're not sure if they're eligible, that's what we're there for. And we actually do that evaluation and help determine their eligibility. And even if you're not eligible, that doesn't mean that we're not going to be able to help navigate you through anything. And so that's kind of the really great part of it, is a lot of the services that are available outside of the education and training. You can see on the screen here, job search, career navigation, things like that. There's still options for you to access the technology, because we know that digital equity is a huge issue for our area. And so there's still that access, and we can still help refer you and support you in other ways for those individuals. So it's really great that we have low barriers to entry. I think that's kind of all of our goals and intention too, is to be able to make sure that people have the easiest opportunity to access workforce.
Thank you. Kind of going off of Amanda. So again, I work with Elevate, which is the youth program. So we do 16 to 24-year-olds, and we end up coming with a lot of youths who come in who are, 18 to 24, that maybe they aren't eligible for our program, but they're eligible for the adult program. So it's really nice to be able to have them come in, and even if we can't help them, to be able to send them to the adult. So often, like Nichol, being able to serve a lot of those age ranges, I know makes a big difference. Paul, are there any barriers to entry for your services, and what are they?
As far as, reaching out and working with me in Project First Rate, there's really no barriers. I mean, I'm happy to talk to anyone, even if they're not really in a place to formally, pursue an apprenticeship program or a career in our industry right yet. I'm happy to guide them. So as far as, working with me, working with my organization, there's no barriers. As far as getting into an apprenticeship program, there are certainly barriers, both, technical and mandated as far as the requirements of each program. So you're going to be able to see that on the slides. Those are some of the basic requirements that anyone is going to have to the boxes you'll have to check. There's other ones as well, and those are all on our website. So you want to, anyone that's looking to get into this, you want to make sure that you kind of have all those boxes checked before you even start filling out that application, because you want to, set yourself up to be as successful. You don't want to just get discouraged, based on a technicality or whatever it is. And then one thing I always, especially with the younger people, I talk to them about in our industry, just given the nature of the work and safety and working with others and heights and all that things, they do still test for cannabis. So, I talk to people, I say, hey, you have a choice. I totally get it. I think it's a good thing that, no one's getting locked up for this stuff, but in our industry, you got to recognize that there's trade-offs, and that, especially as you're getting into the program, get yourself clean for a little while. Right. So, and there are randoms as well, depending on the trade that you're in. So that's one thing that, has been a little bit more of an issue. Transportation, that's a huge one. A lot of people, let's say you work in Rockford, you might be working, starting your job at 6:30 a.m. in Freeport or Belvedere or wherever it may be, or any other, maybe going down to DeKalb to the huge data center that's down there. So reliable transportation is huge. And I know that's an issue for many people in our community, but just kind of the nature of the beast. Sometimes people, ride together and that kind of thing. But that's one thing in the interview process that will, really be focused on, because they expect you to be on the job site, be ready to work on time. And there's really no slacking off in our industry for that. So that driver's license, as far as the age, for most of our programs, you are able to get into an apprenticeship program if you will be 18 by the time the program starts. So if you're 17 and you're applying, but you're whatever date that program starts and your birthday hits, you'll be okay there. I'm trying to think of some other kind of things that are childcare. I mean, that's one that comes up all the time. I've actually brought this up, had a couple opportunities to speak with senators and legislators at the federal level, but with all the childcare stuff that has been talking, and that especially with trying to get more women into the industry. Childcare is already a huge issue just in general, cost, availability, all that kind of stuff. But in our industry, right, like I had mentioned, if you have to be across town or drive an hour or whatever it is to your job site and be there at 6:30 a.m. and you have to drop your kid off or your kids off at a certain area, you know, what kind of childcare provider is open at 5 a.m. or 5:30 a.m.? I mean, it's almost non-existent, right? So that's one thing that I try to focus on and look into how we can, on a advocacy level, increase access to. And you know, I've had conversations that people said, "What is the solution?" And I said, there really are none that I have available to you. So that's just one thing, you know, particularly not to put it on women. You know, I bring my daughter to childcare all the time, but it's just a more common, especially with single mom, it's a more common challenge that I've had conversations and we've encountered. And we're actually working on a women in trade group that will help kind of support people and look to solutions and provide greater advocacy at state and federal level. But that's a huge barrier for people and a huge challenge once they get into the industry as well. So those are just kind of a handful of the more common conversations and challenges that people have when they get in. But as far as working with me and kind of talking through some of that, there's no barriers. I'm always happy to talk with anyone that is interested or, you know, serious about it or even halfway serious and just want to figure out if it's a right step. And, you know, if that's the path they want to choose.
Great. Thank you, Paul. Nichol, are there any barriers to entry for your services and what are they?
No, there are no barriers for entry of our services. So we, you know, if there's something that we aren't actually doing, we're going to find the agency that can actually assist them. So.
Perfect. Thank you. Amanda, how can case managers in the community connect their participants to you? What is the best way to send referrals?
That is up to you, what you think is the best way for you. If email is preferred, I did put in the chat the email. It's info@theworkforceconnection.org. We also do have a site in Rockford, Freeport, and Belvedere because the Workforce Connection serves Boone, Stevenson, and Winnebago counties. And so the address is in there. If you have an individual that wants to walk into the site that is closest to them, there's also a phone number for each agency. And I put all of this information into the chat as well, but it's also available on our website. Speaking of which, we also have an access point on our website if there's an inquiry, and that will come in via email and you can put in there, you know, please don't put any personal information into that request or into an email, but there is an opportunity for you to submit it that way and we can connect with that individual or follow up with you directly. So there's a lot of opportunity to engage with us in whatever means is easiest for you.
Perfect. Paul, how can case managers in the community connect their participants to you?
Sure. Yeah, I think just a couple of few different ways I had mentioned before. First, you know, again, for people who are just kind of at that first point in exploring and, you know, express interest in the field and these type of careers, just have them look at Find Your Trade or request one of our, you know, I can deliver you any of these organizations that are in the audience here. We have printed guide if it's easier to actually hand out a physical copy of a very high quality printed color. Hey, there you go, Andrea. And yep, there you go, got one. So I'm happy that we have tons of those. We print hundreds or thousands of those every year, and those are free. You know, we give those out free to any organization or individual that wants those. If that's better, it's a very similar content on Find Your Trade. So that's the starting point, just so they can get familiar, they can understand the opportunities, they can be educated a little bit on the terms and different trades and that. But then just reach out to me once after that point. And again, I'm happy to talk to people before that point as well. But it's always good to, you know, educate yourself a little bit first, both on the case manager and nonprofit side, but then also the clients and the individuals that you're working with. And then really just email, phone number, whatever it is. I have people will reach out to, you know, ask for a one-on-one meeting just to talk it out, get a little bit of understanding again, because the industry, it's a little bit confusing and every trade has their own apprenticeship program and you know, the union world is a little bit confusing to people. So I'm always happy to have those one-on-one meetings as well, just to talk through it and provide advice. So whatever way, I think one of the other panelists had said, whatever ways and means is best for you or your clients, I'm happy to work with them in that way.
Great. Thank you, Paul. Nichol, how can case managers in the community connect their participants to you?
They can either call, email, or actually send them our way. They can come in person. either or. Me, myself personally, I'd like to develop a relationship with the case manager prior to them sending anyone, or even having them call or even email. And that way we can be expecting them.
Great. Amanda, what do you wish case managers knew about services before referring customers to you?
I think the biggest thing is just to know what we offer and to know that we're able to assist the individual with a wide range of things. So if you're not sure if we can help them with, or if they say, I can't get a job because I don't have a car, I don't have access to transportation, the Workforce Connection can help you get connected to transportation or help pay for your transportation. If you have an issue with childcare, we can, obviously that's a huge issue that we're talking about today. It is very limited, but we can assist with childcare too. There are a lot of barriers to employment, and we're here to help alleviate those barriers so that way they can get employed. So even though we're going to be providing them with training or education, or connecting them to training and education and helping pay for that, there are a lot of other things that could prevent them from getting to employment, and don't let that prohibit them from getting connected to us, because we can help. And I think that's really important to know about.
Great, thank you. Paul, what do you wish case managers knew about services before referring customers to you?
Sure. So, there's a lot of things I wish they knew, but I don't blame anyone for not knowing it. Because again, as I stated earlier, it's I'm not from the industry. I didn't have family in construction or anything like that. So when I got in this job 2 years ago, I had a big education to learn my own self and to do that as well. So I don't have that expectation. But what I wish people would learn, and I try to do this in my work, is the standards, values, and expectations of our industry, which are very high. So it's not, a lot of the kind of classic way that people have referred people into construction, whether it's educators or others, is kind of like, oh, well, this guy can't, or, this woman or man can't do anything else. So send them to the trades or whatever. Right. And maybe for the non-union side, and I'm not, I don't want to cast anything on them or put them down or whatever, but maybe that's okay. But in our part of the industry, again, as far as like, the timeliness, the hard work and not slacking off and goofing around on the job site, all the different things that you have to do to, to be efficient, to be a good worker, to be called back by the contractor. There's really no or very little room for messing around, slacking around, all that kind of stuff. So someone needs to be very serious about getting into this, because, and again, I'll work with folks and encourage them and educate them, but they're probably not going to be very successful if they have not embodied that and cannot fulfill those kind of expectations. So that's one thing. These are for the programs that their intake is through an application and competitive, when they do testing and interview and things like that. It's very similar to getting into a good college. You're competing against possibly hundreds of other people that may or may not have experience, may be able to interview really well, and that kind of thing. So you need to be very, very prepared, and I can help with that to be, to set yourself up to be most successful as you can. So that's one thing I like people to know. And also is when you look at the economic and social outcomes that registered apprenticeship programs create, they're pretty much on par with four-year university programs. So I talk about this, and I'm sure I'm repeating myself for some of the people on this call or this meeting today, but I just want people to have this perception that registered apprenticeship programs, and at least in our industry, joint managed, which are managed jointly by labor and management. So you have contractors and labor working together to put these programs together. They're nothing, no one should feel less than and someone who went through a four-year university program. The number of hours, the type of education, the quality of instructor, and so forth that you're getting is totally on par with four-year university programs. Plus, you're making money and you have no debt. So it's something that people should strive for. You talk to a lot of people that are in this, have went through it. They feel like they hit the lottery, they hit the jackpot when they got into a program and stuck with it. And whether it's 4 or 5 years, and they're making $80, $90, $100,000 with a pension and can retire in the mid-50s and live a good life for the, however long they live after that. So it's really serious. It can be really competitive, but I want to help people who may not be, as competitive now. I want to help them understand how they can get to that point. And that it's not always that way. There's some places where you can get sponsored by a contractor and get in. So there's kind of some different options as well. But those are a couple of things that I try to put out there more so to help educate people.
Paul, if I could add just one thing to really toot the horn of apprenticeships, because I think a lot of people don't fully understand how they work. An apprenticeship is probably one of the best ways, I think, for a lot of people in our area to get connected to employment, because it gives them the opportunity to get paid while they're learning, while they're working. It's working in simpatico, if you will. And so those two things connected, a lot of times we would hear from individuals in the area and say, I can't go to school because I have to work. This allows you to do both at the same time and get paid in the end really good amounts. Even when you start, the starting wages are really, really great, and the benefits are really great. And apprenticeships are in so many different industries outside of the trades, but we have so many opportunities within the trades too for those apprenticeship opportunities. And I think it's got a lot of stigma attached to it, to Paul's point, but it's something that we can all champion for the benefit of our community, because there's such a good opportunity that exists in apprenticeships.
Yeah, thanks for saying that. One thing I kind of piggybacking off that, Amanda, and totally agree with everything you said. One thing that, whether it's, the trades, which obviously I'm focused on, but other apprenticeship programs, I think in general, I can't speak to all of them, but when you go through an apprenticeship program, and again, I don't want to put anything else down, but I just want to draw a contrast. Let's say just Chrysler, for an example. You get a job at Chrysler, which is great. It's a union job. You can make good money. When let's say you get laid off or you leave there, you're not taking that skill with you unless you're going to another auto manufacturer plant or something similar. When you're going through an apprenticeship program, again, whether it's culinary, whether it's the trades or something else, you are learning a craft, you are learning a trade. And whether we hope that you go and you work locally for 30 years and retire and you spend all your money in our local economy and pay your property tax, all that good stuff. But you can take that anywhere. You can go to California, you can go anywhere where there's a construction industry, you have a transferable skill that is, especially in the union world, that you can travel and do traveling jobs. It's something that you can take with you. And a lot of the different manufacturing and other jobs that people are going to, and again, we need people in those, but it's kind of like the employer owns that skill. It's you're doing that job, you're doing that task, but it's nothing that really is in a meaningful way, other than maybe some work ethic and things like that, which are important, that you can take with you, and again, in a holistic kind of way that is going to be like, wow, I have a great skill that I can use in anywhere. So that's one thing that I really push too, is that, hey, we want you to go in kind of the traditional path and go in and start working, but you don't have to do that necessarily. You're going to learn in 5 years, you're going to be basically one of the most highly trained people in the industry, and you have that for the rest of your life. And some people switch and do something else, but whether you want to start a contracting business or do something similar, you have that forever, and that's kind of distinct from other different opportunities out there.
That's great. Amanda had just put in the chat too that apprenticeships are available in healthcare. And as we know, healthcare continues to be a very fast growing industry, especially in our region. So that's great that that's an opportunity there as well. Nichol, what do you wish case managers knew about services before referring customers to you?
If they just knew all the programs and services that we offer, that would be kind of helpful. And then again, if they don't know all the services and programs that we offer, they can always contact me. My hand is involved in everything that we do here at Northwest Community Center.
Perfect. All right, so our last question, Amanda, what is the most important thing that you want case managers to remember from today's presentation?
The thing I would want you to remember is our phone number or email address, so you can connect with us and get those participants related to us. But really what I want it to be is I want you to remember that although there are so many barriers that exist for the individuals in our area, there is so much opportunity for us to alleviate those barriers for them and get them connected to employment. And also, if your organization is looking for services, we also help the businesses in our region as well. And so we do have business services team that's devoted to helping those businesses, including your own.
Great. Paul, what is the most important thing you want case managers to remember from today's presentation?
I think it's the piece about, these opportunities that I'm talking about and we represent, these are real careers. So for someone that's looking and is capable and dedicated to working hard and has that knack for a blue collar, working with their hands type of career, this is going to be one of the top opportunities, not just in our region, but across the country. As far as the money you can make, a pension is almost unheard of, right? I don't know how many people here have a pension unless you work for a government agency. In the private sector, you're almost never going to find a pension. So when it's funny talking to high school students about pensions, right? They're like, what? I don't know what that is. I don't care. But these are some of the best opportunities, and there's a place for every type of person, within the confines of the ability to do physical work, of course. So our framework of that. So no matter what your background is, your ethnicity, your gender, identity, whatever it may be, we need to get more diverse individuals into the trades. There's a place for everyone. There's all sorts of, testimony locally, regionally, nationally to talk about people with experience, good, bad, and otherwise, of getting into the industry and being successful. And never think of these opportunities as less than, because again, you can talk to some of the tradespeople that are out there, and it's the best thing that happened to them, other than, their kids and family and that kind of thing. So just know that this is something to strive for, and it's something once you can achieve, and again, that's what we're here to help people do. You can be set for life if you're a strong worker, you have a work ethic, you can dedicate yourselves to something, and that reward, that give and take, is going to be very fair in our industry. And it's something I work hard and I'm really passionate about. I'm coming from a blue collar family where that wasn't the case. And so just any questions people have, please reach out to me. Simple, complex questions, I'm happy to answer anything, and just feel, PFR as far as an open door and any of that. So that would be a couple of things. Thank you.
Great. Nichol, what would you say is the most important thing that you want case managers to remember from today's presentation?
That our agency as a whole, we try to stay aware of the needs of the individuals in this community. And with us trying to stay aware of those needs, we are willing to respond to those needs.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, thank you guys for your time this morning. We'll open it up if anybody has any questions. I know I had seen one in here. If you guys can kind of speak into what the duration is typically like, or how long a participant would be in each of your programs. Amanda, if you want to start.
So yes, I'm happy to start. So it'll probably take a couple of weeks for them to get processed through into the workforce connection. And after they get through their eligibility, but the program that they work with a career planner who's able to help navigate which career they're going to enter into, and the duration of that program is going to vary. We see them as short as, I believe, 6 weeks for some of the CDL programs, transportation. Some of them can last up to a year for some of the programs, although if you're looking into a degreed program, those can be a little bit lengthier as well. But there's an opportunity for them to share with their career planner and say, hey, I need to get into this employment within the next 3 months. What can we do? What exists in there that I think I can, fit into? Or again, an opportunity for an apprenticeship. You can start pretty immediately into that, and you're getting paid while you're going through that program. And so it just kind of varies by the institution that offers the training or education, the one that they choose and select to go into. They do have a lot of options to choose from.
Great. I'll second off of Amanda too. It depends on what the participant is hoping to accomplish as well. So I know on the youth side, we get probably at least half of our participants are high school dropouts. So their first goal is to typically want to get their GED. So they can move as fast or as slow as they need to. So some people, it could take up to 2 years to get their GED. And maybe they want to do training after that. So they may be in the program longer than others. But we've had participants who come and they take all of their tests for the GED in 2 weeks. And then they go right into a training. So it kind of depends on what pace they feel comfortable moving at, and then the goals that they're hoping to accomplish while they're in the program. Paul, how long is the duration typically on your end?
Most of the apprenticeship programs are going to be 4 or 5 years. There are some programs that are 3 years as well. But particularly the programs that have a training center in Rockford, this area, it's going to be about 4 or 5 years. And there are some, just to let everyone know, there are pre-apprenticeship programs as well that are a lot shorter that help individuals get ready and be more, set up to be successful and get accepted into an apprenticeship program. And those are typically, several months long or a month long or 2 months, whatever it is. So those are shorter for people who maybe want to get their feet in the water a little bit as well. But actual registered apprenticeship programs in our industry are going to be 4 or 5 years generally.
Okay. And Nicole, how about the length of time for your participants?
Well, if they're in one of our youth programs, the goal for any of those programs, if we're serving them while they're in elementary school, is for them to transfer into our middle school program. They're done with middle school to transfer into the program that we partner with Kendall Sherman Foundation high school program. And then if they're in our EWS program, Empowering Women for Success, they can be in the program for up to a year, and it kind of depends. It's case by case. And then, of course, the seniors, we want to continue to serve them for as long as we can.
Sure. And Nicole, do you have a flyer that you're able to share with Billy so she can send that out with the slides?
For all programs? I have.
Sure, yeah, just the services that you guys offer.
Okay, yes, I can get you flyers for all the different programs that we offer.
Oh, perfect. Amanda, this may be a good one for you. What has the economy and market demand done for salaries in various industries in our community? I heard that truck drivers have the potential to make over 100,000.
Yeah, a lot of the kind of resistance of the workforce to engage with some employers has really shifted things quite a bit. Employers have been offering huge sign-on bonuses, increased salary wages. I mean, you can work at McDonald's and make over the $15 minimum wage that's coming up in a couple of years. So you can make almost $20 doing something like that. But a lot of the industries are having to compete not only with each other within their industry, but other industries to attract and retain those individuals. And that has also increased, or is starting to increase, some of the salaries for loyal staff members, because they're seeing all these new ones come in at a higher rate or with these large sign-on bonuses. And so to retain that staff that you have existing, one of the things that the Workforce Connection is able to do in terms of a business service to help retain those individuals is something called incumbent worker training. So you're upskilling that staff member who works for you, you're getting them to a higher level, and then they can achieve more skills, but they also achieve a higher salary, and we help supplement the cost of that training for the individual or individuals that are permanent employees for you. And then you're able to help build that talent pipeline below them and kind of fill it up a little bit better. And that's a huge issue in our area right now and across the nation entirely, is how are you not only attracting new people to your company, but how are you retaining the people that have been working with you for 30 years or something? And because of all of the different components from the pandemic, we would see our retired community come back into employment on a part-time basis, doing more volunteer work, things like that. Those individuals have even said, nah, I think I'm good. And so we're losing out on those as well. So we have a lot of challenges to the workforce right now. Even though there are some financial opportunities for people coming in and changing their careers.
Great, thank you. Does anyone else have any other questions for the group?
I had a question. For Nicole, I know you're located in Northwest Rockford. Do you serve more than that neighborhood? Or do any of you have a specific service area you'd like to share with people here today?
No, we serve the whole community. Whoever comes through our doors, we serve everyone.
For the Workforce Connection, we serve Boone, Stevenson, and Winnebago counties. But there are organizations similar to ours that are a workforce system, because we are a public workforce system, that are located. There's one for every county in all across the state of Illinois. There's 22 of them total, but they're all across the nation as well. So if you have an individual who comes to you from McHenry County or from Ogle County, there is a workforce development system that operates similar to ours through the federal WIOA program that they can get connected to. And if you're not sure who to go to, the best thing I would say is connect them to us, and we'll find out who they need to get to based on the county that they reside in.
As far as Project First Rate, we represent 9 counties, basically as far going out to Boone and DeKalb County, and then west out to the Mississippi River. So Joe Davies and Whiteside and stuff like that. So nothing in Chicago area, basically everything west of that.
Perfect. Any other questions for the group?
I have 2 more questions. I always have questions.
Sure.
So we talked a lot about soft skills and needing to show up to work on time and be prompt. Do any of you help teach soft skills, or who might you partner with that does help teach soft skills?
I'll chime in quick here. The Workforce Connection does offer soft skill training. One thing that I'm really, really proud of from the Workforce Connection that the team has done a lot with is first, Karyn has a program in her program called Keys, which has some components for soft skills in there, and she can speak more to that. But there's that's specifically for youth. There's another program called the Workplace Essential Skills, which can provide them with a credential that they can take with them, that's offered and sponsored by the Workforce Connection. So they go through, and there's about 6 different components that they're learning. But a lot of it focuses on soft skills, also on being able to speak for yourself and advocate for yourself, a lot of personal advocacy and expectations of employers. We did collaborate with businesses in the area to develop that, and also make sure that once it was implemented, that the individuals who took that training, that it was valuable for the employer. One example is AAR. A lot of the individuals that went through and got employed with AAR, they had gone through that training through our partnership, and AAR said it was really beneficial for all those individuals and for them as an employer. So that's an opportunity to engage in those soft skill trainings.
Yeah, kind of going off of what Amanda said, you know, we had seen a lot of these issues previous to COVID, but after COVID, they were just really exponential. A lot of our participants, you know, would come in, they'd be really excited to work, but then they wouldn't show up, or they would show up half an hour late, or, you know, they don't know how to work with their coworkers. They don't know how to have a conversation with their boss. So those types of gaps, we really saw a lot of those. And that was the kind of the mindset behind introducing these 2 curriculums, was trying to bridge that gap and to really teach them how to have those soft skills so that they can be successful. You know, our work internships are only about 14 weeks, but it's an opportunity for them to build those soft skills and to use them in the workforce, and to be able to take what they learn in those several weeks to their next job, and to be able to have that better chance of being successful. And so we saw that as a really big need in the participants that we serve.
Thank you. That's fantastic. If a case manager wanted to have flyers for programs say available at the Workforce Connection or Northwest Community Center, or your booklets, Paul, that you have for apprenticeships and trade programs, is that something they could pick up or find online to share with their folks when they come into their offices?
Definitely. We have flyers for, I'm so sorry, Paul, go
Oh,
ahead.
you're good.
We have flyers for our business services, and we also have flyers for the individuals. There's a lot of information that's available on our website, but I can have a couple sent over to you, Billy, to share out with the group. And then if there's a specific request that you have, then you can just email that info@theworkforceconnection.org, and we'll make sure that some additional ones can get sent to you too, if you have specific requests.
And as far as ours, they can pick it up. I love getting out and seeing new places and meeting new people, so I'm happy to deliver them too. Again, we have 9 counties, so I go out and deliver them to schools all across our region. So I'm happy to deliver a box or 2 or whatever. But people are also able to come to our office in downtown Rockford. Just give me a call and make sure I'm in and out a lot. So send me an email, give me a call, let me know what you're looking for. But I'm also happy to deliver them to places as well.
Billy, as I mentioned, I'll send you over flyers for our programs that we offer, but the information is available on our website as well.
Okay. anything that you, Nicole, or Paul or Amanda, that you share with me, I will share out to the group in an email. So you'll get the recording from me, you'll get the slides and any resources from the panelists here this morning. I had one question that was private chatted to me, and I have some personal experience with this as well. So how does it work for folks that have maybe SR22 insurance or a criminal background? Are there barriers for people that have a driving record issue for any of your programs?
I'll take it first. As far as the insurance, the high liability, whatever that insurance is, that's not an issue. As long as you have a driver's license and reliable transportation on that end, you're all good. The criminal background, it depends, is kind of the answer for that one. So generally speaking, that's not an issue. You know, if people have, you know, done the time or whatever it is, that's fine. Some contractors or job sites, like if you're at a school or you're doing a bank or whatever it is, depending on whatever that conviction was, that you may not be able to work at that job site. But as far as having a conviction, you know, justice involved people, there's plenty of them who, you know, have gotten back and gotten their life together, and now they're doing great in the trades and are, you know, making great money and all that kind of stuff. And there's some of the best people to advocate on these programs and these career opportunities, because they help them turn their lives around. So it just depends on kind of the job, what you're looking at, but as a rule or whole, those aren't barriers.
This is actually a really great question because it affects so many people in our community. And I know that Prairie Legal does a lot to help individuals with a record. Sometimes there's expungement opportunities. Other times there's just services that they can offer for the individuals in our region, either at no cost or, you know, little cost, depending on the individual. Thank you, Billy, for putting the link in the chat. You're so fast. I just finished talking about it. But there are some training programs or employers that may have limitations on your employment opportunities, and this speaks for the entire nation. As much as we want reentry, returning citizens to have all of these opportunities once they fulfill, there are still some employers, unfortunately, who are not as flexible, I would say, with that, or also have federal limitations or state limitations that prevent them from being able to hire people with a background. But the really great thing is, for the workforce connection, when you're working with a career planner and we see and we know what your criminal background is, we're able to look and say, okay, you have this, maybe this career isn't an option for you, but this career is an option for you. And so let's get you connected to that. So there are no barriers from your past that will prevent you from getting connected to us. It's just about what opportunities exist in the region and nationwide for employment. And so that's something where we can help educate and walk them through it.
It's a great answer. Any other questions?
Okay, I don't see any other questions in the chat. Feel free, if you have other questions that occur to you today or tomorrow, please send me an email if you want to connect with somebody on the panel, or feel free to reach out otherwise. So thank you so much, Karyn, for leading such a great panel discussion this morning. And thank you, Amanda, Paul, and Nicole, for joining us and sharing just such valuable information for how to connect folks to the services that you provide in our community. I am going to, yeah, thank you so much. I'm going to share a little bit of information about the Rockford Area Case Management Initiative, which this is part of. So each quarter, again, I mentioned at the beginning, but I know a couple people joined late. Each quarter, we offer a free community of practice panel discussion on a variety of topics. I'll share information on what we have coming up in the next slide here, but we also offer case manager training. So if you're looking to strengthen your case management skills or even strengthen case management as a whole at your organization, we provide a semi-annual training. So in May, we offer an online training. In November, our training is going to be in person, and we offer individual training. So we have had organizations contact us to sign up for how to help participants arrange resources, how to manage confrontation, how to use conflict as a tool. There's all sorts of topics that can help you meet the needs of your program participants. And we keep it affordable. It's only $100 a module. And we've had 2, 3, 4 organizations team up. So it's as many people from your organization as possible in organizations might split the cost. So for $25 to train all your staff on case management supervision or on managing confrontation, we try to build those skills for you in an affordable way. So upcoming sessions we have in September, our panel discussion is going to be held on addiction and recovery services. And the December panel will be on foster care and foster care transition services. Those will both be here at NIU Rockford, 8500 East State Street. So watch for that information on our Eventbrite. And because you registered today, I will share information out in an email with you as well. And then we have a case manager training session in November. With that, I'm going to stop my screen share. And we thank everybody for coming this morning. Have a great rest of your morning.